then it will be interesting for him to do a simple thing. From some laboratory, he will have to get some plants which are certified by the laboratory as diseased and sick. And I'm talking of plants in pots. And he can bring such plants in a room, and in the center he can do Agnihotra for 21 days. There should be normal water, normal sunlight for the plants. And this Agnihotra atmosphere plus this Agnihotra ash. Agnihotra ash is extremely medicinal according to old science of medicine. And then after 21 days he can take those plants back to the laboratory, and then you will see how the disease goes away. There are several types of treatments which were developed in Germany, how to make use of this ash for the cure of the body. Of course, the ancients tell us that this ash is extremely healing, but for practical purposes, how this is to be used, all these things were developed in Germany in the last, say, more than 15 years. And now, in all continents, all over the world, thousands of people make use of that ash as it was first shown by people in Germany, how it could be used. Now, there is another thing behind this, that is our breathing, according to the science of Ayurveda, that is the old science of medicine, is connected with the phase of the moon. That means from full moon day, the breathing goes in a particular way. For 3 days, then next 3 days in an alternate fashion till we come to no moon, and that's how the cycle goes on. We are not breathing through both the nostrils all the time, but exactly at sunrise a special change comes about, what is called even breath, and that comes according to nature's timetable. But if you are sleeping at sunrise, then the change may or may not come about as decided by nature's timetable. It may come, it may not come about. But if you are just up before sunrise, then automatically the change takes place in harmony with the moon phase timetable, and that reduces all your effort. That means that helps the nervous systems, that helps the kundalini systems, and automatically the energy cycle of the body comes into harmony. But if you are doing Agnihotra at that time, then you are creating medicinal air, what you call a mini climate, in your own room, and that has a wonderful effect on the whole homeostasis of the body. The homeostasis of the body is strengthened by this, simply by being in atmosphere of Agnihotra, and also if you ingest Agnihotra ash, as Agnihotra ash is itself medicine. This Agnihotra is the technical name for all these processes is Yajna, Y-A-J-N-Y-A. Yajna is the science of purification of the atmosphere given through the Vedas. Agnihotra is the basic Yajna, but there is another word in Sanskrit, and that is Homa. So we use the simple word Homa, and now it is being resuscitated as Homa therapy. This has several applications. This could be used in the process of, for example, drug and alcohol de-addiction, because the beautiful part of it is the motivation comes to the drug addict or alcohol addict to go away from the drugs and alcohol. And once the motivation is come, half the battle is won. There are programs for drug alcohol de-addiction based on these fires, but they all, for that it is better to have a farm-like situation where we grow our food by these methods. If somebody wants to make use of this for farming, there is a book. In that book these instructions are given how to start a simple Homa farm. But it will be better, as we are living in very difficult times, to get the Department of Agriculture involved. Before you start these, any of these, for example, vegetables you can get in a few weeks. Before you start, it is better to ask the Department of Agriculture to get the soil surveyed. and have a report. They will tell you what are the nutritional difficulties. We are not adding any chemicals. You can use some organic fertilizers like cow dung, some simple things, but no chemical fertilizers, no pesticides. Then after getting one crop of vegetables, which you can get quickly in a few weeks, you ask them to again examine the soil. Of course, then get another crop, so that will be say about 4-5 months. Then again examine the soil. You will see that there is no depletion of the nutritional condition of the soil, even if you have taken 1 or 2 crops. In fact, after 2 crops, you will find that the soil, something has been added to the soil, some nutrition has been added to the soil. So this is something very interesting if somebody really wants to employ methods of science. Then secondly, you can ask the Department of Agriculture to examine this on 5 different counts, this method of growing our own food. One thing is how large quantities are grown in a small area. They can prepare a data which could be given to a computer on these different counts. One thing is the quantity, then the color, the taste, the texture, the disease resistance of the plant, and also the reduction in harvesting losses. On each and every count, you will find that this method is superior. Wonderful methods are developed in Europe after the Second World War. They started in Germany, like Dr. Rudolf Steiner's biodynamic, and they were working wonderfully up till now, but because of this terrific pollution, organic farmers are finding great difficulties now. So if they just introduce some of these ancient techniques of purification of the atmosphere and giving nutritional to the plants, they can see how it works. Because this is science. The whole thing is, it is only science that can save us, because it is only knowledge, and only knowledge can make us free. We have to learn to lead a life where it is all love, there is no strain. Now, only if we take to methods of science we are going to survive. Look at the condition of the planet today. I am only referring what the scientists are telling. Now the scientists are telling us that it will not be possible for life to exist on the planet just in a few years. They say not more than 4 years, because you look to the satellite pictures of the Amazon forest, for example, and we can clearly see what's happening in Eastern Europe, parts of Africa and parts of Asia. If the trees die, where are we going to get our oxygen from? And Amazon is an area where substantial quantities for the whole planet are manufactured, what we call for the whole planet. They call it the lungs of the planet, as they have written some signboards in some Amazon areas, save the lungs of the planet. But this is the scientific opinion. Now the scientists tell us that it is acid rain. Every drop of rain that falls is acid. And they say that even if we try to stop all our factories or all the automobiles, which certainly we are not going to do, it seems, but still it's not enough. What has already gone into the atmosphere is enough to bring acid rain for several more years. And if we get this acid rain just for 3 or 4 years more, then the top 15 centimeters of the soil will become totally acidic. I am just quoting their opinion. Then what about the ozone, for example? Ozone holes, and that means sun's rays, before they reach the planet Earth, go through a filter, and that filter is now broken. There are so many holes. That means cancer and leukemia and blindness. This has already started happening near Antarctica, and also now recent times in Arctic also. Then you can see all this radioactivity, that itself is a subject by itself. All these toxins are in water, in subsoil water, in the land, in the air. People, for example, now feel in some parts of Eastern Europe it is more visible. For example, difficulty of breathing in for several days. In some countries like Belgium also it was announced in TV what to do about it, and they feel like that. So these conditions of the planet have to go, but only science can save us. If there are any methods The scientists can, if they wish, they can try to apply these methods and see the effect on themselves. In ancient science, wonderful things are told about pollution. I'll just quote a few things as given through the Vedas and as it has been handed down in the ancient yogic tradition not by word of mouth but by blessing all this knowledge is transmitted. The ancients tell us that due to pollution, a change comes about in the elements, in the nuclear structure of elements. That means they are not the same elements. And when this happens, the earth begins to attract elements from other planets in the solar system and they become detrimental. How to make them beneficial by means of fires and mantras is also told. They tell us that due to pollution, some insects change their dietary habits and what are called natural predators, they become vegetarians. That means they do not do their job and they try to destroy the vegetables. That creates havoc and all these food shortages. They tell us that the navigational faculties of migratory birds is damaged due to pollution. We now hear that birds which migrate annually from the poles, North Poles and South Poles, for example, they have already started losing these faculties. We hear such reports about it. They tell a few things about ozone. It is described like this. The sun's rays, it is told in another way. The sun's rays, before they touch the earth, should pass through a carpet of nutrition. Now here they are not referring to the ozone layer actually, but the reference comes a little later. And that carpet of nutrition on the ground is created by several of these fire practices of purification of the atmosphere, of which Agnihotra is the basic practice. This Agnihotra is enough for anybody. It will go a long way to improve all things in the surroundings. Then they tell us, for example, that this situation like this ozone holes, to amend those conditions, 4th day from the full moon and 14th day from the full moon there is a special energy effect where certain medicinal plants are to be burnt in this particular fire with some special mantras. But all this has to be done in an atmosphere where these homo fires are going on or this food is grown by this method. The ancients tell us that if these type of fires, and there are some other added fires for growing additional food and making things more healthy to remove disease, if these fires are practiced on a farm, then at a certain stage in its life, the male honeybee changes its sex and starts secreting hormones which become medicine for man, medicine for the atmosphere and medicine for man. All these things are told as it is told by the ancient yogis. What we are now concerned is how we can make use of this simple process. The process has to be simple. It has to be very easy to operate, no doubt very little effort is required, and it has to give quick results. So if it removes stress from the mind, then it is a wonderful tool in psychotherapy, for example. It is a wonderful tool to bring about love in a family, for example. It is a wonderful tool to get rid of diseases, for example, by using this ash and also this Agnihotra atmosphere. So if anybody is interested, all these things are taught free. There are people all over the world. You can get the computer timings free, or anytime you want to start it. It is your free will whether you want to make use of this process. But one thing is certain, unless we take to methods of science, we are not going to come out of this terrible situation, whether we like it or not, whether we wished it or not. On a silver platter of technology, we have handed ourselves into jaws of death. And here again, there is science which tells us that it is possible to get out of all that. It is possible to grow large crops in small areas. It is possible to get rid of this disease, but it is our free will whether you want to make use of this knowledge. Knowledge is available free but it is your free will whether you want to use it. Thank you.